So first of all, I kind of want to take you into the mindset of someone who was 137 going on 140 kg and their mindset at that point. It's really difficult. I'm going to do as best I can throughout this post. But when you're that size, the mindset it takes to shift and to start losing weight, to actually make a change and do something about it, is probably the biggest turning point, or the biggest thing and the hardest thing of the entire journey, of the entire time you're going to be losing weight. And this post is from a perspective of someone who was 137 kg and needed to lose weight, needed to lose body fat. So yeah, the emotional kind of roller coaster you will go on is pretty crazy. From accepting the point, okay, I need to do something here, or there's no kind of way of not seeing what the future can hold, for example. And this is going to be raw from my perspective. Okay, so it's not going to be none of these coaches going, oh, this is what it takes to lose it, because 9 times out of 10, they haven't had to do the journey. 1% of us have had to. The shift in mindset is like absolutely insane. And to summarize kind of already, the first stages of it are relatively easy and simple because we are so much bigger, because we are bigger than 99% of the population that want to lose weight, get lean, lose body fat. The initial kind of stages of it are a little bit easier and happen a little bit quicker than those who are already lean and want to drop body fat. Because we're carrying so much more weight, we've got a bigger chance of it dropping off quicker. However, getting to that point of the mindset shift, the habits, like I've mentioned it previously, but when you're in that mindset, you'll just eat anything. Like you just do not stop. There is no limit. There is no stopping. So first of all, accepting that you need to change something, and then putting into action is probably the 2 hardest things of the entire journey. The first kind of 5-6 months are relatively simple because we do have a lot more calories to use. We do have a lot more food that we can eat to our advantage, so that we can lose a good amount of weight relatively quickly and still enjoy quite a bit of food. It's when it gets later on into the journey, that's when it gets tougher. Remember, this is coming from a perspective of 137 kilo. This is on, if you use BMI, morbidly obese. So yeah, the first 10 to 15 kilo are relatively easy, okay? Remember, we are a bigger size than the most average person who wants to get a bit lean. So we do have a lot more calories to advantage. The average person will probably have to drop down to below 2,000 calories, whilst my basic metabolic rate, so the amount of calories I need to eat to stay the same way, is probably going about 3,500 calories a day, which means that I could drop it down to 2,500 calories a day and still lose a good amount of weight relatively quickly as well, and still keeping my food intake quite high. So yeah, the first 10 to 15 kilo was quite easy, was quite simple, but it doesn't stay like that. It gets a lot harder very quickly. So yeah, the first 10 to 15 kilo, relatively straightforward, relatively simple as such. Cut the food down quite a bit, you can lose quite a bit of weight. The next 10 to 15 kilo is when you start need to actually looking at the expenditure. What can I be doing more of, essentially? Steps, cycling, gym training. That's where it gets a little bit tougher, because now you still have to balance in your lifestyle. This means you have to start balancing your food intake and also your work, and also going to the gym. 45 kilo down. This is roughly taking me about 2 to 3 years, by the way, of on and off dieting, on and off training, purely because of work, lifestyle, and you hit these little plateaus, which is what I hit here. I hit the biggest plateau yet. Got to end of November, lost a good amount of weight, put a lot of it back on. Very, very easily done and very, very commonplace. So this is where I decided to get a coach and really level up the next bit of my training to really finish off the journey and actually get lean rather than just kind of dropping body fat at this stage. This is where it got bloody difficult, okay? Because I've been dieting for so long, it felt like, about 3 years on and off. My body, I didn't know physically what I had left in me to do it. This is where I got the coach who pushed me to that next level and pushed me beyond where I thought I could get. This is where it got tough because the calories had gone from, say, 2,600, 2,700 I'd eaten at the start of a diet, coupled with a couple of maintenance phases. They got slashed down to about 1,800, 1,900 calories a day. That's where it got extremely difficult. To actually shred back and get a six pack, believe it or not, all the way from 137 kilo, at my lowest point I got down to 80 kilo. That was before I continued on to my bodybuilding prep and lost another about 5 kilo on top of that. So yeah, it does get progressively worse. It does get progressively harder and progressively tougher. That's all part of a journey. Remember, when we are a bigger size, when you've been 23 stone, 137 kilo, you have a lot more calories to your advantage. So the early stages are quite simple because you're eating still a good amount of food. The tougher stages happen further on when you've got to cut that food even more and start upping the expenditure. So as your calories come down like this, your expenditure starts coming up like this. This is where you start needing to pay attention to fatigue, stress, recovery, sleep, all of that. That's when it gets difficult, okay? Early stages of being that size and losing body fat, quite simple, quite easy, quite quick. But as it goes on, the tougher it gets. And this is where I really want to emphasize that mindset shift. I've said it's easy and quick. It is at the start. When you've been that size, it is. But it's the mindset it takes to get into that stage in the first place for you to lose that weight. How I put it is, you are in a hole. I feel like you're in a pit of endless trying, and nothing happening. Your emotions get the best of you. They always play on your mind when it comes to, why do you want to do this to yourself? You enjoy eating. Why would you want to stop eating? It's so difficult when you are that size to make the change in the first place. When you've made the change and accepted it and started putting things into place, it's relatively straightforward. But it's that turning point. And this is where a lot of coaches don't understand that because they've never been in that position themselves. So in summary, was it tough consistently for those 4 years? No, it wasn't. It's only as tough as you make it, and I will always stand by that. As I said, weight loss at the start, fat loss at the start can be relatively straightforward, can be relatively quick. But it's only as easy and quick as you make it. If you want to make it tough, want to make it difficult for yourself, okay, that's on you. But throughout the 4 years, no, it was relatively easy and simple at the start. It just got a lot harder towards the end. Did you take breaks? Yes, I did. You have to take breaks. Your metabolism will adjust to having so little calories, where when you start adding calories in, you can't add in as many as you want, which means you'll put on weight a lot quicker than you want to when you come up to maintenance. You have to take breaks. You cannot be dieting for 4 years without taking breaks. You cannot be losing that amount of weight for that long without taking breaks. And that's where a lot of coaches, again, don't understand. They'll just keep pushing you through it. Do more, cut calories, add expenditure. Unfortunately, you can't do that. Unless you've been in that position yourself, you won't necessarily understand what I mean, but you've got to take breaks. You've got to be able to enjoy life. You can't just be 4 years of sort of dieting. The bigger you are, the easier it is. Well, yes, ish, but again, like I said, it's only as easy as you make it. If you want to make it hard for yourself, you can make it hard for yourself, okay? When you start off of that size, you are your own biggest critic. Everyone, I think, is their own biggest critic. But when you get into that mindset of, okay, this is difficult, this is hard, I can't actually do it, then it does make it very hard. You've got to allow yourself to kind of let go of what you want to do and what your body wants you to do. You've got to be really able to push through that barrier. And once you do, it becomes relatively simple, relatively easy to start off with, as I said. That's the biggest thing I want to take away from this, to start off with. I'm making it sound like it is quite easy. It's really not. I'm just trying to emphasize the point of the bigger you are, you've got a lot more leeway when it comes to losing weight quicker and easier, because you don't necessarily have to do as much as someone who's relatively lean already. You can just crack on, start dropping the food intake, and then you'll start seeing changes relatively simply. When you start adding expenditure in, then it just goes fucking tenfold, and then it just levels up. So that leads on quite nicely to, was it hard? Yeah, it was bloody hard. It changes you as a person. It's completely changed my lifestyle. I used to go out pretty much every night after work, drinking, which meant kebabs, McDonald's takeaways the next day, which then meant going down to Asda, because I live next door to Asda, getting a load of easy, snacky shit, basically, and then just rinsing and repeating that cycle. So yeah, it was bloody hard stepping away from that lifestyle and saying no to it. And it's completely changed my friendship group. The people I'm friends with 4 or 5 years ago, I'm sorry, but I feel like we're more acquaintances than we are friends now, purely because I don't leave that lifestyle anymore. I prefer to not drink. That's just a lifestyle choice. I don't drink anymore, even though I work in a bar. I don't really go out for meals anymore. Well, I do, but I'm, again, within reason, and I make adjustments if needs be. It's not that I'm a fun sponge. I'm taking the fun away from my life. It's like when you're an addict, you've got to you move yourself from that place. You've got to move yourself from that lifestyle, because it's very easy to slip it back in, and surround yourself with people who are like-minded, who are also either on the same journey or also want to lose body fat. In the fitness world, that's relatively simple at the moment, because you just go down the gym and everyone's there. So yeah, it's difficult, because you literally have to change your entire life, and that's what a lot of people don't want to do. And that's the biggest thing. Once you've made that change, once you've made that mindset change, you're on your way to a winner. So yeah, this was meant to be uploaded as little snippets, and I will be doing this little snippets still for Instagram, but I feel like I'm going to upload this as a big whole YouTube kind of vlog-ish kind of style, because hopefully a lot of people can take this away and they can help them as well. So yeah, long story short, it's bloody hard to lose body fat, but it's only as hard as you make it.